So I recently ran another poll because I like to know what topic people are interested in and whether people will actually watch something. And one of the topics was, where do all tech reviewers get all their stuff? So like people who review phone products, laptops, iPads, etc. And this was in line with all the recent like hype around the new iPhone release and general smartphone releases and my general interest in tech content. As I continued to read into it, I realized that the way such a video would be framed would be me essentially blaming these tech reviewers for the influx in products being made and sold and bought, which just isn't true. In fact, tech reviewers are often the first people who will say things that I do agree with, like maybe brand X should have waited a while before launching this, or maybe brand Y was just looking for a cash grab because really this phone wasn't necessary. If companies cared about that sort of rhetoric, maybe we would see fewer smartphone launches over, several years, but that clearly isn't the case. Plus, the number of gadgets that reviewers get in comparison to sales in general is just so minuscule. It's like if I had continued to make that video, it would have been just with no basis because I would have no data to support, I would have no articles, no anything to support it, and I'm just sort of sharing this thought process so anyone else interested or like other people could see how you go from an idea to a finished product when you're doing research for these sorts of things in these videos. If anyone is interested, if anyone is not, I'm sorry I've wasted 2 minutes of your time. As with any other complaint I've made on this channel, the person to complain to would be companies, would be the people making these things, making the biggest profit off of these things. A disclaimer for any billionaire apologists who may potentially run into this: I'm not saying all tech is bad. I would be a hypocrite because right now tech is the reason you and I are even having this parasocial interaction, right? So it's still important to criticize the things we use. It's still important to look at our general lives with a critical lens. So that's my response to you, billionaire apologizer, okay? So let's start with a few examples. Apple went from being a brand all about exclusivity, releasing just one phone a year, and it would be the product and everybody would be there waiting, clamoring, and now they release 3 models of phones, 2 of which are just slightly lesser of the big one and therefore slightly lesser of a price, but like they'll have a 1 less camera or less storage or something, and then that's justified by the price tag, which then gives this person who's going to buy the lesser one still a gateway into the Apple experience, but for a smaller price. Samsung has so many lines of smartphones. You have the Galaxy S, the Galaxy A, the Note, the Z, the Q, the Y, what? And again, this is done to accommodate this hypothetical but also existing consumer who doesn't have a grand to blow on a phone, but still obviously needs a phone, and that's understandable. Isn't there a way? I feel like if they wanted a compromise, there would be one. A compromise where more resources are put into one device, or 2 at least. You'll see the ads, they will create a problem, and then you, the consumer, are left with this problem, and they're like, hey, here's the solution. Do you want to take notes in class on a device that also happens to be a mobile device? Here's the Note 10. Do you really need that? What happened to good old pen and paper? Or if you already have a tablet, can you not do it on that? No, you need the Note. Here, buy it, go. There are also stats saying that fewer and fewer people upgrade their phones every year because, again, no one wants to fork out $1,000 just for a new phone every single year. No one has. Even if you have that kind of money, is it really worth it for what you're getting? We're holding on to our phones longer these days. Back in the era where wireless carriers were subsidizing the cost of smartphones, it wasn't uncommon to switch up your handset every 2 years or even annually. But when you're paying close to $1,000 for a phone, as you are with today's flagships, you're going to keep using that device until it starts to crumble into dust, no matter how flashy this year's round of upgrades may be. And a lot of other people have also resorted to buying refurbished products and secondhand products. With companies that will buy your phone for cash popping up, consumers are taking advantage of the possibility of getting a new phone with more capabilities, more storage, for a fraction of the cost. So apart from just trying to maintain their own market shares and competition with each other, who is this all really for? Now, let's talk about the DRC. Congolese artisanal miners work in dangerous conditions to get resources like coltan, gold, and silver, which are used in smartphones and loads of other devices. These workers are poorly, if at all, compensated for their work. While tech companies will denounce these illegal workers and say, well, we work with the legit companies like Swiss-owned Glencore, it's important to wonder, well, if no one is taking coltan from these miners, then why do they continue mining and who are they selling to, right? Because if no one, if everyone is denouncing them, then where is their product going? Why do these people still keep popping up in these mines and doing this work? Then a question for Glencore would be, well, why don't you just absorb these miners into your workforce and avoid, future scandal, and just have them be fairly compensated, better living standards for the people, for the area, etc. Most mining companies have not looked into this option favorably, given the potential costs of monitoring artisanal miners, but companies should weigh these costs against the risk presented by the status quo, which include physical damage to their mines or a scandal involving forced labor or military violence against civilians. This sort of like military violence and everything is happening right now. And I will link documents and other relevant stuff for people to read who are interested in this whole relationship between Congo and the West and their mineral resources, etc. It's also worth pointing out how like $1 billion company like Glencore gets to take all this mineral wealth and bring the money made back home and bring absolutely none of it into the Congo, and then Congo is left like being one of the most deprived, the most impoverished areas in the world. It makes your blood boil, really. And it's like interesting to me, like I'll go on my Twitter feed and there will be this juxtaposition of like iPhone being like, oh, we're so eco, we're so green, we don't offer chargers in the box anymore, or our boxes are made of recycled blah blah blah, all this greenwashing stuff, and absolutely no mention of the working conditions of these people. And then immediately scroll down and see this absolutely brutal footage of genocide in Congo right now, and it's just, I am choosing not to show any right now. I could have, but I'm choosing not to show any now because I feel like we need to let go of this need to visibly see pain, especially the pain of Black people, to believe it's actually happening, because it is. If you are interested, there are links below. You have the internet clearly if you're able to access this video, so I suggest you do so yourself. It's military intervention trying to stop these artisanal miners that leads to so much violence, and that is just the worst kind of course of action. The earlier solution of just them hiring these miners or providing them with a safer methods isn't being taken up because it involves like things like fair pay, health and safety, environmental consciousness, and people over profit and caring under capitalism. Imagine. I've just done a like knowledge dump on you right now, and I understand if you're a little taken aback, but you're also probably wondering, okay, as an individual, as just me on my bed or in my room, what can I do? Well, for starters, it would be really great if like as a society, we unsubscribe from the classist mindset that what brand you use makes you a better person or more elite or whatever. Like by now, at least however many minutes into this video, you've realized they all come from the same horrible conditions and under the blood, sweat and tears of Black people. So is that the hill you want to die on? If you really do need a smartphone, a new smartphone, consider your other options like buying refurb and secondhand before you buy a brand new one. As an individual conscious thing, I mean, you not buying one device probably won't immediately stop Apple from making more, or Samsung or whoever, but it's worth a shot, isn't it? And just keep reading, keep learning. I will probably learn more from people in the comments after this, as I usually do on these videos, which I really do appreciate. And I encourage people who know more about this, because there will be people who know more about this, to share their thoughts in the comments on your own. Just do your own reading. Of course, content that even smells a teeny little bit anti-capitalist will be harder to find, and like there will be paywalls and whatever, but just try your best. I'm currently privileged enough to still be at a university, so I will have access to more papers and stuff, but I usually do try to link things that are accessible. There are always sources like Twitter, where currently loads of Congolese people are sharing videos and think pieces and everything on what's going on. And yeah, do you agree with everything I said? Do you want to burn me at the stake right now for what I've said? How often do you buy a new phone? What determines what phone you're gonna buy, etc.? you know, let's have a discussion, let's talk. That's what the comments are for. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, and I will be back next time, hopefully with something a little more lighthearted, because I can just tell, I can just feel my pitch and volume go down as I think about everything.